Chief Seattle's speech is a powerful, bittersweet plea for respect of Native American rights and environmental values. It is considered to be a powerful speech because of the impact of its expression. Bittersweet. The speech has also been called bittersweet because it very beautifully and eloquently expresses the anguish felt by the Native Americans. Before we move ahead, a request. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you find my videos useful. Let us now examine the context of the speech. President Franklin Pierce was the 14th President of the United States. He had sent a letter to Chief Seattle communicating the intention of the white settlers to purchase the Northwest Territories. Governor Isaac Stevens was at that time the Commissioner of Indian Affairs for Washington Territory. He had called for a meeting to discuss the surrender or sale of the land by the Native Americans to the white settlers. This meeting took place on 11th March 1854 at Seattle, which is when Chief Seattle made this speech. The natives thought that George Washington was still alive, which is why in his speech Chief Seattle referred to George Washington when he used the words great, good or big chief and good father. Likewise, Governor Isaac Stevens was referred to as white chief. Pale face referred to the white settlers. Red man means the Native Americans. And lastly, King George. The Hudson Bay traders used to call themselves King George's men. So the Native Americans thought that he was the monarch of England, and the white settlers encouraged this deception because they thought that if the natives found out that their monarch was a woman, they would not respect them enough. Let us now answer an important question, which is who was Chief Seattle? Chief Seattle was the leader of two Native American tribes, namely the Suquamish and Duwamish tribes. He was not only a powerful warrior but also an eloquent orator. He was known as the Big Guy on account of his height. The city of Seattle in the US is named after him. He understood the changing times and realized how much his people would suffer if they continued clashing with the white settlers. He spoke this speech in the Lushootseed language. While speaking, he had first placed one hand on Governor Isaac Stevens's head and then slowly pointed the index finger of his other hand towards heaven as he began speaking. The speech given by Chief Seattle can be divided into 12 parts. First of all, Chief Seattle spoke about the changing times and his response. Secondly, he spoke about the untimely decay of the Native Americans. Third point, are they, that is, the Native Americans, also somewhat to blame? Fourth point, is there a way forward for the Native Americans? Fifth point, differences between the red man and the white man. Sixth point, reverence towards ancestors. Seventh point, two completely opposite peoples. The eighth point, the end is near for the red man. Ninth point, a common destiny. The red man and the white man, both of them have a common destiny. 10th point, conditions and rationale for the surrender or sale of the land. 11th point, a connection too strong to be broken, connection with the land. And the 12th point, an ominous declaration. The first paragraph deals with the changing times and Chief Seattle's response. Yonder sky that has wept tears of compassion upon my people for centuries untold, and which to us appears changeless and eternal, may change. Yonder sky means the sky over there, the sky above our heads, the sky that you and I can see. This sky over our heads has blessed my people. It has wept tears of compassion for centuries untold. Here, what he's trying to say is that we have lived on this land for hundreds of years, and this sky is the witness to that. To us, the sky appears changeless and eternal, which means he's saying that we never thought that this situation would change. But now we realize that it may have appeared changeless and eternal, that is forever to us. But things are no longer the same. The situation may change. Today is fair. Today, the sky is clear. The weather is good. Tomorrow, it may be overcast with clouds. But just because the sky is clear today does not mean that tomorrow there will be no clouds. It does not mean that tomorrow the sky will not be dark. Similarly, the red man or the Native American has lived on this land for centuries, and they never thought that they would have to suffer someday. They never thought that on their homeland, on their native land, the situation would be such that they would be rendered powerless. However, Chief Seattle continues, my words are like the stars that never change. No matter what happens, the stars in the sky do not change their position. Similarly, my words also you can rely upon. I will never go back on my word. Whatever Seattle says, the great chief at Washington may rely upon with as much certainty as he can upon the return of the sun or the seasons. So he says that today, whatever I say, the great chief at Washington, which means President Franklin Pierce. Please remember that Chief Seattle was referring to George Washington, while in reality the president was Franklin Pierce. So he says that the president can rely upon my words with as much certainty as he can upon the return of the sun or the seasons. The sun sets in the evening, however, we are sure that it will rise again tomorrow morning. We are certain. Similarly, seasons follow a certain pattern, a particular order, and that order never varies. Similarly, Seattle's words will never vary, they will never change. One can rely upon his words. The White Chief says that Big Chief at Washington sends us greetings of friendship and goodwill. This is kind of him, for we know he has little need of our friendship in return. So the White Chief, that is Governor ICSE Stevens, has said that Big Chief at Washington, which means the President, he has sent them greetings of friendship and goodwill. Chief Seattle is saying this is very kind of the President. Why? Because he does not really need our friendship. We are powerless now. So it is kind of him. Why does he not need our friendship? Because his people are many. They are like the grass that covers vast prairies. So the white settlers are numerous. They are huge in number. They are so many, just like the grass that covers a vast prairie. My people are few. On the other hand, the Native Americans are very few in number. They resemble the scattering trees of a storm-swept plain. Just imagine a piece of plain land on which there are many trees that have been growing for years and years. Suddenly, there is a deadly storm. Because of it, many trees get uprooted, many trees collapse. In the end, what is remaining is only a few scattered trees here and there. Only those few scattered trees are left standing. So, the condition of Chief Seattle's people, that is the Native Americans, is also like that. The great, and I presume good white chief, sends us word that he wishes to buy our land, but is willing to allow us enough to live comfortably. So, the great and good white chief, that is the governor, has told the Native Americans that he wishes to buy their land, but that does not mean that he is going to evacuate them. The red man, the Native Americans, will still be able to live on the land. They will be given a separate area, a small portion, where they can live comfortably. This indeed appears just, even generous, for the red man no longer has rights that he need respect. And the offer may be wise also, as we are no longer in need of an extensive country. So Chief Seattle, ironically, he says, yes, the governor's offer is just. In fact, it is even generous. Why? Because the red man is now powerless. This may have been our land, but we are so few in number now that the white man, the governor, he does not need to respect our rights. There is no need. Whatever he does, we will have to follow. Whatever he says, we will have to follow. Also, his offer is wise because we are so few in number that we are no longer going to need a vast country to live in. The untimely decay of the Native Americans, who is to blame for that? There was a time when our people covered the land as the waves of a wind-ruffled sea cover its shell-paved floor. So Chief Seattle says that there was a time not very long ago when our people were numerous. We covered this land. There were so many of us that we filled up the entire land, just like the waves of a wind-ruffled sea cover its shell-paved floor. The wind-ruffled sea means the surface of the sea which is caressed gently by the wind. The shell-paved floor of the sea means the seabed which is covered with shells. So the shell-paved floor refers to the land, to the richness of the land. And the waves of the wind-ruffled sea refers to the numerous Native Americans that lived on this land. But that time long since passed away, with the greatness of tribes that are now but a mournful memory. But that time, that glorious time, has long since passed away, along with the greatness of tribes. We were not only numerous, but we were great. We had grandeur, we had magnificence. But today, when I remember all of those things, I feel mournful. All these things are now just a mournful memory, something that is not true of the present anymore. It is something that you just look back on, things that you just remember and you feel sad about. But Seattle says, I will not dwell on nor mourn over our untimely decay. But still, I will not keep talking about these things. I will not feel sad about the fact that we have been wiped out before our time, untimely decay, nor reproach my pale-faced brothers with hastening it. I am not even going to blame my pale-faced brothers, that is, the white settlers, saying that you are the reason for our untimely decay. I am not going to say that. Why? As we too may have been somewhat to blame, because it is not just the fault of the white settlers. We Native Americans also may have been somewhat to blame. Even if it is a little bit, some of the blame does rest with us. How are the Native Americans responsible for their own destruction? Youth is impulsive. Impulsive means acting on impulse, acting without thinking, acting on the spur of the moment. When our young men grow angry at some real or imaginary wrong and disfigure their faces with black paint, it denotes that their hearts are black. So, when the young Native Americans grow angry, when they feel anger at some real or imaginary injustice, immediately, without thinking, they paint their faces black. They disfigure their faces. So when you paint your face with black paint, what happens? You stop being who you really are. You may be a very sensitive, kind-hearted person in real life, but the moment you have painted your face black, it means that you have put on the war paint. Now, it denotes that their hearts are black and that they are often cruel and relentless. So when once you have painted your face black, you become a warrior and a violent warrior. So your heart becomes black, which means you are incapable of goodness, incapable of kindness. You become cruel and relentless. You don't stop being cruel at all. And our old men and old women are unable to restrain them. So when the young men are in such a violent mood, at that time, the old people of the tribe are not able to hold them back. They are not able to control them. Thus, it has ever been. This is how things have always been. Thus it was when the white man began to push our forefathers ever westward. So once the white settlers began to take over the lands of the Native Americans and push them towards the west, the young Native Americans began reacting in this manner. But let us hope that the hostilities between us may never return. So Chief Seattle now says that let us hope that the enmity that existed between us, the enmity, the ill feeling that we had for each other never returns. We would have everything to lose and nothing to gain. So if the Native Americans engaged in hostility with the white settlers, then they are the ones who would be the losers. They have nothing to gain. Revenge by young men is considered gain, even at the cost of their own lives. So if you ask a young person, he would say that if I take revenge, that is my gain, that is my profit. It does not matter if I lose my life. But old men who stay at home in times of war and mothers who have sons to lose know better. But the parents of these young men, their families who depend on them, they know better. They would disagree. They would not want these young men to give up their lives. What next? Is there a way forward for the Native American? Our good father in Washington, for I presume he is now our father as well as yours, since King George has moved his boundaries further north. So our good father in Washington means the president. So he says that the president is now our father as well as yours. When he says that he is now our father, he means to say that we have accepted the guardianship of the president at Washington. Since King George has moved his boundaries further north, the Native Americans believed that England was ruled by a man, not a woman. So hence the reference to King George. So the white settlers have captured a lot of the Native American land. So Seattle says, our good and great Father, I say, sends us word that if we do as he desires, he will protect us. So a message has come to them from the president saying that if they accept the sovereignty of the white settlers and follow their instructions, then he will protect them. His brave warriors will be to us a bristling wall of strength. So the white settlers will now become a wall of strength. They will stand in between the Native Americans belonging to Chief Seattle's tribe and defend them against their ancient enemies far to the northward, that is the Haidas and the Shimshians. The Haidas and Shimshians are other Native American tribes. So that our ancient enemies far to the northward, the Haidas and the Shimshians, will cease to frighten our women, children, and old men. So once these people have the protection of the white settlers, these ancient enemies will no longer frighten them. Then in reality, he will be our father and we his children. But can that ever be? Is it actually possible for us to live together like brothers? Your God is not our God. Your God loves your people and hates mine. So he says that your God is different from our God. He is not our God simply because he loves you. He loves your people and he hates my people. He folds his strong protecting arms lovingly about the pale face and leads him by the hand as a father leads an infant son. So you are growing in number, you are prospering because your God is guiding you and protecting you. But he has forsaken his red children if they really are his. So he says, I don't know whether we are his children in reality, but even if we are, I must say that he has abandoned us. Our God, the Great Spirit, seems also to have forsaken us. So he says, even the God that we believe in, our God, the Great Spirit, even he has abandoned us. Your God makes your people wax stronger every day. Soon they will fill all the land. So your God has made your people grow from strength to strength. You are increasing in number and you are taking over this entire land. Our people are ebbing away like a rapidly receding tide that will never return. On the other hand, my people are decreasing in number rapidly. In fact, our decrease is like that of a rapidly receding tide that is never going to return to the seashore. The white man's God cannot love our people, or he would protect them. They seem to be orphans who can look nowhere for help. How can then we be brothers? So the white man's God loves only them. He does not love us. If he loved us, he would have protected us. At present, our condition is that of orphans. We cannot look to any God. We cannot look anywhere for help. So then, how can we be brothers? How can your God become our God and renew our prosperity and awaken in us dreams of returning greatness? Is it ever possible? Your God is never going to become our God. Your God is never going to be able to renew or to return our prosperity to us. Your God is never going to be able to help us to dream of returning to our former glory. If we have a common heavenly Father, he must be partial. For he came to his pale-faced children. We never saw him. So he says that even if it is true that there is one common heavenly Father who watches over the whites as well as the Native Americans, I must say that he is a partial Father. He is partial because he came only to his white children. His red children never saw him. He gave you laws, but had no word for his red children, whose teeming multitudes once filled this vast continent as stars fill the firmament. So he gave you laws, he gave you the way of life, but he did not say anything. He completely neglected or bypassed his red children, whose teeming multitudes means large numbers. We were in such a large number that we filled up this entire continent just as the stars fill up the night sky. So it is not possible for God to not have noticed us. No, we are two distinct races with separate origins and separate destinies. There is little in common between us. So there is no doubt in my mind that we are totally different from each other. Differences of religion and reverence for ancestors. So Chief Seattle says that to us, the ashes of our ancestors are sacred and their resting place is hallowed ground. You wander far from the graves of your ancestors and seemingly without regret. So to the Native Americans, the place where their ancestors are buried is sacred. The ashes or the remains of their ancestors are sacred. On the other hand, the white settlers have wandered far away from their native land. Their native land is the place where their ancestors are buried, but they have no regrets at leaving this place behind and coming to a new place. Your religion was written upon tablets of stone by the iron finger of your God, so that you could not forget. Even in matters of religion, there is a vast difference. For example, the religion of the white settlers has been written upon tablets of stone by the iron finger of their God. The white man is required to memorize it so that he does not forget it. Such a thing can never be comprehended or understood by the red man. The red man could never comprehend or remember it. Because to the red man, religion is a way of life. Religion is forever evolving. Religion means being in touch with nature, of understanding and communing with nature. Our religion is the tradition of our ancestors. So our religion is our way of life. The dreams of our old men, given them in solemn hours of the night by the Great Spirit, and the visions of our sachems, and is written in the hearts of our people. So for us, we do not need to refer to any religious book or to a stone tablet, because our religion is written in our hearts. we live our religion. And how do we get our religion? We get it through the dreams of our old men, which is given to them at night by the Great Spirit. So the Great Spirit communicates with us, and that is how we understand our religion. Our Sashems or our chiefs, they frequently get visions and they convey these visions to the people. So that is how we know our religion.
Reverence towards ancestors. Chief Seattle says, "Your dead cease to love you and the land of their nativity as soon as they pass the portals of the tomb and wander away beyond the stars." So, since the white settlers do not have any connection with their ancestors too stop loving them and the land in which they were born and the land in which they died as soon as they are buried in the tomb. As soon as they are buried, as soon as they die, they wander away beyond the stars. They leave this world. They are soon forgotten and they never return. Our dead never forget this beautiful world that gave them being. So, for the Native Americans, reverence towards ancestors is paramount, which is why their ancestors do not forget this beautiful world. They are connected to it, they feel strongly for this world in which they lived their lives. They still love its verdant valleys, its murmuring rivers, its magnificent mountains, sequestered vales, and verdant lined lakes and bays, and ever yearn in tender fond affection upon the lonely hearted living, and often return from the happy hunting ground to visit, guide, console, and comfort them. So our dead are not able to be disconnected from this beautiful land because they love it tremendously. They always return. They return not only to this land, but they also return to their descendants. In fact, they yearn for their descendants. They feel tender love and affection for them because they know that we miss them. They realize that we are lonely without them. That is why they return from their happy hunting ground. They come to us to visit us, to guide us, to console us, and to comfort us.
Two completely opposite peoples. The white settlers and the Native Americans are poles apart. Day and night cannot dwell together. These two different races of people are just like day and night. They cannot stay together. The red man has ever fled the approach of the white man. So, whenever the red man has seen the white man, he has preferred to flee, to run away. Just as the morning mist flees before the morning sun, just like the morning mist cannot stand before the morning sun. However, your proposition seems fair, and I think that my people will accept it and retire to the reservation you offer them. So, Chief Seattle says that I think that the proposal that you have given to us for the surrender or sale of our land, it is a fair proposal. So, we will accept it and we will retire to the reservation. That is, we will go and live in the territory that you have offered to us. Then we will dwell apart in peace. So I think this is the only option for us. Once we accept it, we will dwell away from you, apart, and we just wish to lead our lives peacefully. For the words of the great white chief seem to be the words of nature. So at present, the proposition that has been offered to us, the words that have been spoken by the great white chief to us seem to be like the words of nature, speaking to my people out of dense darkness. So the condition of my people is very bad. In this dark condition, in this dense darkness, the words of the great white chief seem to be the words that are showing us the way forward. The end is near. It matters little where we pass the remnant of our days. They will not be many. So Chief Seattle says that I know that the days of the Native American are numbered. So it hardly matters to us where we are going to live for the remainder of our lives. The Indian's night promises to be dark. Not a single star of hope hovers above his horizon. So from now on, for the Native Americans, for the Indians, their nights are going to be completely dark because there is no hope for them. There is not a single star of hope that they can see in the night sky, no matter how far away they look, no matter how far towards the horizon they look. Sad voiced winds moan in the distance. And because the Native Americans are so closely connected with nature, he says that we can hear the sadness in the voice of the winds. The winds are also moaning, they are also emitting sounds of pain because they know that our end is near. Grim fate seems to be on the red man's trail. So, grim fate means death. Death is going to follow the red man wherever he goes. And wherever he will hear the approaching footsteps of his fell destroyer and prepare stolidly to meet his doom, as does the wounded doe that hears the approaching footsteps of the hunter. So when the hunter is hunting the doe, first of all he shoots an arrow. As soon as the arrow strikes the doe becomes wounded. Now the doe is simply thrashing about in pain. It cannot run away. It just has to lie there till the hunter comes and picks it up. So the doe hears the approaching footsteps of the hunter and helplessly, emotionlessly prepares to meet its doom. Similar is the case with the red Indian. A common destiny. A few more moons, a few more winters, and not one of the descendants of the mighty hosts that once moved over this broad land or lived in happy homes protected by the Great Spirit will remain to mourn over the graves of a people once more powerful and hopeful than yours. So Chief Seattle says, a few more moons, a few more winters, which means let a few more days, fortnights, seasons, years pass by. What will be the situation then? Not one of the descendants of the mighty hosts. Who are the mighty hosts? They are ancestors, the original inhabitants of this land. And who are the descendants? Chief Seattle and his tribesmen and women. So they are mighty hosts moved over this broad land or lived in happy homes protected by the Great Spirit. This means that their ancestors lived in happiness, freedom, and well being over here, secure in their land and religion. But they are dead and gone, and within a few years, their descendants, that is, the remaining members of the tribe who are alive today, will also be gone. Not a single one of them will be able to mourn over the graves of their ancestors, which is very sad because their ancestors were once more powerful and hopeful than the white man is even today. But why should I mourn at the untimely fate of my people? So Chief Seattle says there is no point in feeling sad, there is no point in mourning because tribe follows tribe and nation follows nation, like the waves of the sea. Just like one wave follows another in the sea, in the same way, one tribe and one nation follows the other. It is the order of nature, and regret is useless. This is how things happen in the world. This is what nature does to us. So there is no point in regretting anything. Your time of decay may be distant, but it will surely come. So, one day in the distant future, your time of decay will also come. The white settlers will also have to face the same destiny. For even the white man, whose God walked and talked with him as friend to friend, cannot be exempt from the common destiny. So the white settlers used to boast that they had proof that their God existed because he came on this earth, he walked and talked with them. He was their friend. They saw him in the flesh. But Chief Seattle says it does not matter. In spite of all this, even you cannot be exempt from the common destiny. You will have to go through the vagaries of destiny. We may be brothers after all. We will see. So, in that sense, in the end, we may be brothers. Let us see what happens. Conditions and rationale for accepting the proposal of the whites. Chief Seattle says, we will ponder your proposition, means we will think over your proposal, and when we decide, we will let you know. But should we accept it? I here and now make this condition. So even if we accept it, right now I am placing a condition before you that we will not be denied the privilege without molestation of visiting at any time the tombs of our ancestors, friends, and children. You must allow us to visit the tombs of our ancestors, friends, and children at any time. You must not harass us regarding this. This privilege has to be given to us. Why? What is the rationale? The rationale is that every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed or made sacred by some sad or happy event in days long vanished. So we've had a long and happy, a glorious past here. And the entire land, every hillside, valley, plain, grove, every bit of this soil has been made sacred by this. Even the rocks, which seem to be dumb and dead, as they swelter in the sun along the silent shore, thrill with memories of stirring events connected with the lives of my people. So even the rocks. So when the white settlers look at the rocks, they think that these rocks are dumb and dead. But to the Native American, they are alive. That is why Chief Seattle says that even these rocks that are sweltering in the sun near the silent shore, even they have memories within them. Even they thrill with memories of the wonderful events connected with the lives of my people. And the very dust upon which you now stand responds more lovingly to their footsteps than yours. So the dust on which you are standing, the soil on which you are standing now is responding more lovingly to the footsteps of my people than your footsteps, than the footsteps of the white settlers. Because it is rich with the blood of our ancestors. So our ancestors are part of this land. Their blood is mixed in the soil, and that is why the soil is responding more lovingly to our footsteps, not yours. And our bare feet are conscious of the sympathetic touch. So, as we stand on this soil with our bare feet, we are aware of the sympathetic touch of the soil, the sympathetic touch of our ancestors. A connection too strong to be broken. So the connection that the Native American has with the land is so strong that it cannot be broken even in death. Chief Seattle says, our departed braves, fond mothers, glad, happy-hearted maidens, and even the little children who lived here and rejoiced here for a brief season will love these somber solitudes, and at eventide they greet shadowy returning spirits. And when the last red man shall have perished, and the memory of my tribe shall have become a myth among the white man, these shores will swarm with the invisible dead of my tribe. So, he means to say that all the departed or dead people of my tribe, that is, the brave warriors, the loving mothers, the young maidens, and even the little children who may have had only a brief or a short life here, still they love this beautiful land. They love its peaceful, still quietness. In the evenings, they will come here and greet the others who are also dead but have returned to this place. And even after the last red man is dead and many years have passed, so many years that now the white man thinks that the red man never existed, that the red man was a myth, even then, these lands will be crowded with the invisible spirits of the dead people of my tribe. Chief Seattle continues saying, and when your children's children think themselves alone in the field, the store, the shop, upon the highway, or in the silence of the pathless woods, they will not be alone. In all the earth, there is no place dedicated to solitude. So, when your descendants, your children's children, think that they are the sole owners of this place, when they think that we are the only ones here, we are all alone here, this field, the store, the shop, the highway, or even in the pathless woods, when they think that they are alone, in reality they will not be alone. In all the earth, there is no place dedicated to solitude. So the Native Americans believe in spirits, they believe in nature, which is why Chief Seattle says that in this entire earth, there is no place where one can be really alone. At night, when the streets of your cities and villages are silent and you think them deserted, so at night when everything is quiet and you think there is nobody on the streets, there is nobody in the city or in the village, those streets, they will throng with the returning hosts that once filled them and still love this beautiful land. Those streets will not be deserted. In fact, they will throng. They will be crowded with the returning hosts. That is the spirits of my people, because we once lived here and we still love this beautiful land. The white man will never be alone. An ominous declaration. Let him be just and deal kindly with my people, for the dead are not powerless. Dead, did I say? There is no death, only a change of worlds. So Chief Seattle gives a warning to the white man that you must be just. Be just and deal kindly with my people. It is true that we are powerless. It is true that we are nearing our end. It is true that we are going to be dead one day. In fact, we are going to be dead very soon. But remember that the dead are not powerless. Then he goes on to say, dead, did I say? Which means to say he doesn't believe that they are actually going to die. He says there is no death, only a change of worlds, which means they are merely going to leave their physical body, but that does not mean that they will leave this place. They will still stay on this land, only in their spiritual form, only in a non-material body.